Young boy who witnessed the deadly K Street shooting says he saw who pulled the trigger. That's according to the Sacramento police detective who interviewed the boy following that gun battle. That detective testifying in court today as the preliminary hearing for this case continued. Thanks for joining us at 4. I'm Lisa Gonzalez.
And I'm Ty Steele. Emtula Payton and DeAndre Martin are both charged in the April 2022 shooting. 6 people were shot and killed. 12 others were hurt. KCRA 3's Orko Manna joins us live from Sacramento Superior Court this afternoon. What else did that young witness have to say today, Orko?
Well, Ty, that young boy was 12 years old at the time of the shooting. He told the detective that he was at the corner of 10th and K Streets with his family, selling hot dogs as those clubs were getting out that night. And that detective testifying in court today saying that that boy described who the shooters were. The 2 suspected gunmen in this case, Emtula Payton and DeAndre Martin, sat silently inside the courtroom as Sacramento Police Detective Sean McGovern recounted his interview with that 12-year-old boy. He says the boy described lots of yelling as people were leaving the clubs at 10th and K Streets in the early morning hours of April 3rd, 2022. Again, the boy and his family were selling hot dogs. Those carts are a common sight during late nights in Sacramento. At one point, the boy saw someone with a gun. He also told the detective that a group of men near the corner were arguing. Shortly after that, shots were fired, leading to a traumatizing experience for that 12-year-old.
He thought somebody was going to buy a hot dog. At which point he saw a subject in front of his cart lifting up a shirt and brandishing a firearm in his waistband. He tried to speed up the transaction because he was wanting to get out of there.
And as he was doing that, what occurred?
The shooting began.
From his vantage point, could he see anyone shooting a firearm?
Yes.
And how many people did he see firing firearms?
He described 2 subjects firing firearms.
We see Smiley Martin. One of the men the boy described was a man in a white hoodie running backwards and shooting a gun. The prosecution argued that that description is consistent with the surveillance footage of Emtula Payton. The second person the boy described was a man who had a rapid-fire handgun. The prosecution says that was Smiley Martin. Smiley Martin was one of the suspects, but he died while in jail back in June. But Emtula Payton's defense attorney pointed to the timeline of events with this shooting. He argued that the two of the victims in this case, Jontea Alexander and Yamil Martinez, were shot and fell to the ground seconds before Emtula Payton fired his weapon. He's arguing that the shots that Emtula Payton fired were not the shots that killed those 2 victims. Reporting live in Sacramento, Orko Manna, KCRA 3 News.
There's so many layers of details to unravel in this case. Orko, who else did the police detective interview and what did he share in court?
Yeah, that detective also spoke with the sister of one of the victims. Jontea Alexander is one of those victims that died. Jontasia Alexander is the name of her sister. The detective describes talking with Jontasia as she described being with her sister as she was dying. She said she stayed with her sister, tried to protect her from the rapid gunfire while paramedics got there, but Jontea died before paramedics arrived. We also heard, and I want to mention this, from a gang expert that just started to testify late this afternoon. He's shedding more light on the shooting because detectives have said that the shooting was gang related. We're expecting to hear more from that gang expert next week when this case resumes.
All right, Orko Manna reporting live for us. Thank you so much.